Yes, thank you for being with us this Saturday morning. We're going to be looking at free speech, fake news, and lawfare.
Yeah, that latter part, that last word, was an uppercut for me in the course of the week.
Yes.
It was...
What does it refer to?
Warfare.
This is lawfare.
So, I think it's all in this space of this delivery to me.
Yes, but of course.
Now, former justices who had been indicted, the entire judiciary who's been indicted, some lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria who are, well, indicted, not indicted, but in that book that he read.
Accused by Dele Farotimi
based on the publication.
Certain misdemeanors.
Yeah. So some lawyer in Nigeria, some justices, and there are those who are saying, okay, is this a warfare? Oh no, they're not carrying guns. So it's a law.
It's a lawfare. And in this segment, we're going to be looking at free speech, fake news, criminal defamation, civil. This case has brought out a lot of things. They say that some states have criminalized defamation, some states haven't. And then there is criminal defamation and there's civil defamation. We're going to be looking at it's all legal. It's all legalese this morning, at least for this segment. And it's my pleasure to welcome two legal minds.
Of course. You could have told a doctor.
Chief Godi Uwazurike is here with us in the studio.
Thank you. Good morning, Princess. Good morning, how are you?
And joining us online is a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Dapo Akionshu. Good morning, Mr. Akionshu.
Okay.
Oh,
well.
Okay.
Well, Chief, first of all, can we capture lawfare in any of the legal books?
Well, words are created every day.
Yeah, the first time I heard impasse was in the 90s.
Yes.
So, is that what happens?
Oxford Dictionary, every year, it brings out new words. So maybe a new expression can come in as lawfare.
And guess what, guys? The word fanimoros is actually in the English dictionary.
Yes, it is now in the dictionary.
Something to fanimora is fanimoros.
And that is...
it's been adopted into English.
And it's just because some people started to use it.
That's true. The usage, actually.
So again, we have Akionshu in Mr. Dapo Akionshu. I hope I got the title right. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. How are you today?
Well, very well, thank you. So I was just asking Chief Uwazurike comically whether there is a chance that we'll add the word lawfare into the legal, in the legalese, into our legalese in the country.
Well, the way you put it, it comes to my mind like a question that is the law fair? Or is there fair law? Whichever way, I think it is an interesting word that can be added to our vocabulary, because indeed, is the law fair, and are there fair laws to cover all situations?
Okay. Well, so let me come back to you, Chief. So there is one of the issues that raised the matter of this conversation we're having now is, on the one hand, is the place for free speech. On the other hand, is the limits of free speech. How are we doing that? Are we working on tethers, or are those just play on words?
Well, those in power, if there's one expression they hate, it is called freedom of speech. Those in power hate freedom of speech. The only speech tolerated by anybody in power is called praise. Praise me, approve me, but never say anything he does not like. And it's not true that, or it's not today, that this thing started. Remember, in ages past, the king can do no wrong. The king has spoken, and that is it. In today's world, such expressions as finale do not really come in. So free speech is there, provided you know where to stop. In other words, I can say you're a very handsome man, but if I begin to say you committed one crime or the other, I've crossed the limit. But
even if what you have said is true?
Even if it is true, I've crossed the limit of free speech for which I can be sued for libel, for defamation. I can be sued, not arrested.
Okay.
Because freedom of speech is one of those things that will always define a free society. Let me just give you an example of 2 countries, or 3 countries. In America, I can get up and call President Biden Sleepy Joe, dishonest, the Vice President, dishonest Harris. By the time you finish, those who are gullible will be seeing what you said, that's true. But try it in Russia. And Putin will have you executed first before asking for a name. Try it in China, and you'll be sentenced to death first.
Wow.
Before trial starts. So a free country does not tamper with speech, but I have the right to protect my name. If you say something that is not true and I feel offended, I have the right to take you to court.
So are we saying on that, my apologies, Alero, are we saying that there is no free speech in these countries where you gave examples of?
Well, the freedom, you're free to say anything in those countries, but what happens to you after is where the issue lies. Remember, if you stand up in the Central Square in Moscow and say, Putin is a dictator, no problem, let's calm down now.
You can say it. Oh.
You know, Hong Kong went back to China, and they still believed, we're still enjoying free speech, until virtually all the leaders of the free speech are in prison. Virtually all of them. So back to Nigeria, we have always had that problem. When Buhari came in 1984, January 84, he made a new law that said, I think it's Decree 4, that even if it is true, even if what you said is true, you'll be arrested and tried. No defense. They say truth is no defense. That was Buhari. And when he came back, remember he made such reference that I enjoyed all those, he wanted him back. And he had this kind of information minister, Lai Mohammed, who did everything to circumvent our right to free speech. He said, the Facebook, Twitter, all those, he was busy attacking them. Straight to current government, we have the same problem. But the danger today is that all those who were demonstrating, all those who were issuing statements like Mrs. Jonathan is this, Mr. Jonathan is that, they're in power today. And if you say PIM against them in writing, in Facebook, by word or anyhow you say it, police will arrest you. And when the police will come to arrest you, they come heavily armed, as we say, Vietnamese, fully armed, because you have a pen or because you have a mouth.
Mr. Akiasho, Chief said, when you defame someone, you can be sued but not arrested. How is that so?
That is not very correct. There are two types of libel or defamation, as you put it. One is a tort, and the other is also a crime. There's criminal defamation, in which the right of the person is not only available, available by way of civil remedies. You can also charge the person to court for criminal liability. And that is what I see that is happening in this case. Because if you will know what the law says about right to freedom, there's a limit to your freedom. In all cases, your own right to speak ends where my own right to my own freedom is also available. You cannot impede on my own rights and put the welfare of the society and public health in jeopardy because you have a right to speak. It has been said jokingly that there's freedom of speech, but there's no freedom after. It depends on how you use your freedom that determines what happens to you after. You can speak, yes, but you should also be careful about what you say and about particularly when you are talking about other people who also have a right to defend themselves.
So just a quick question on that, quick follow-up on that.
Yes.
And you just said it now. Just a second, Mr. Akiosho. Just 1 second. I hope you can still hear us well. What differentiates criminal defamation from defamation?
Civil.
Sorry, I missed that.
I said, I'm just trying to follow up on something that you said, that there is criminal defamation and then there's not. What is the difference between criminal defamation or civil defamation, as you put it?
Civil is when you defame me as a person and I can go to court. You have said something about my person. For instance, you say I am a liar, and I know I'm not a liar. I can sue you for that. But in a situation where you have now called me a liar, I now affect my perception not only to my immediate environment, I can also be liable for to be attacked by other members of society. As in that you say, I have also committed a crime, which is not true. In which case, the police can also arrest me for committing a crime because of what you have said. Then you are crossing the line of civil to criminal.
But Mr. Akiosho, if I defame you, for instance, and you went to report to the police, do they have any grounds for which they can come and arrest me?
Most definitely. Because there's a remedy for it. Under the principle of criminal laws, the police, when you commit a crime that is against the state, they have to step in. As I've said, in a situation where you can cause me to be criminally liable for other things that from what you have said, then the state has to step in and say, hey, a crime has been committed or may be committed in this situation, and we need to take action. So the state can come and arrest the person. Unless you can prove, then you have the right to your own defense and say, well, what I said is based on truth, is based on whatever your defenses are, but the state should come. And as my brother said earlier, if the state is coming, if police are coming to arrest, they will come with bare hands. And as we know, and as I've seen in several situations, they may need to be armed to defend themselves as well. And I don't think that is new in Nigeria. As you see the proliferation of arms everywhere you go now, I've been even advocating that ordinary citizens should be allowed to carry guns. That's a matter for another day. But indeed, the police cannot come without inadequate ammunition to defend themselves in an arrest. You never can tell what will happen.
Chief, let's talk about fake news. Fake news, most of it is appearing on social media because the rules that govern traditional media are very strict, and all the media houses do their utmost to abide by those rules. So you don't find them easily peddling news that is not true. But social media is one that governments all over the world have been looking for ways to control what kind of news goes out on that medium. And it's like everybody is now a journalist of some sort. They see something, they don't check, they just put it out for everybody to hear. What do you think government can do to curb the spread of fake news, especially on social media?
Well, I don't think there's much that government can do. I'm being honest with you. Over the years, the various governments have tried to introduce rules and regulations for the media. And the Nigerian Union of Journalists has always fought against anything like that. We have Nigerian Press Council, and journalists are trying to make sure that the independence of the media is maintained. Now, straight to fake news. Fake news is not new. Remember, I think it was 1991, or I can't remember, it was announced Zeke was dead. Zeke was busy watching the TV, and they were saying, Zeke, a well of furniture, may his soul rest in peace.
And they even played
and he was looking at them, telling them, and he took the then governor, Emeka Mere, to rush. I think it was who rushed in there to go and see, is it true? That is fake news. There is the harmless fake news, there is the harmful fake news. But what government can do is also limited to sensitization of the public on the dangers of fake news. If the day the government decides to go and start arresting people for what they posted on Facebook or for what they said, that is the day the government has lost it.
Why?
See, fake news, how do you say it's fake news? How do you prove it's fake news? Go to civil court if you want, but not criminal court. There are two elements of crime. Actus reus, mens rea. In other words, mens rea is the intention to commit a crime. Actus reus is the act itself. So most of the fake news we see is innocent people. Oh, they said that Emeka has gone mad. And you post it. You repost it. And the wider it spreads, the more people believe. But Emeka is there. Nothing wrong with him. So the only thing government can do is to be up and doing. It takes time. After all, this self-publication, private publication is a new thing. Maybe 40 years old. Before then, for you to own a radio, you must be part of the government. But today, from my phone, I can start broadcasting to the world at large. So when the government makes it so militarized that before I say anything, I will say the government will come after me, it is no longer a free world. My emphasis is on maintaining the freedom of speech. There was a case of such interference, criminal interference in those days, after Nwankwo versus the state. He said something against Jim Obodo. The High Court quickly rushed, jailed the man went on appeal. And the Court of Appeal was very blunt. You don't do anything to tamper with freedom of speech. If somebody has said something against you, I don't like it, go to court and file a suit. But to go and lock up somebody, or to go and get heavily armed policemen to come and... Let me just give you an example. There is this journalist based in Enugu, Madu Honor also. They came to arrest him. Heavily armed policemen, people were there asking, maybe it's an armed robber. Oh, we didn't know. They took him from Enugu straight to Abuja. After 3 days, they brought him to Abakaleke. And it turned out that somebody complained that they didn't like what the man posted. See the effort. See the waste of manpower. All those
money.
And money. Those people were paid by government. And all they could do is to go and get a man who has a pen. When those herdsmen, when the kidnappers are roaming freely. There is this comparison which has been on. Delhi in handcuffs. And then the man who is accused of stealing billions is walking majestically.
Was there ever really a time when Dele Farotimi was handcuffed?
Oh, yes, he was. He was handcuffed, and it was there. And nobody has apologized for doing that. That is one of those things. Listen, from 2015, freedom of expression took a backstage in Nigeria. Remember what Buhari said? Freedom, national interest and human rights. That national interest will always supervise. And people clapped. He said that at MPA forum. People clapped and were angry. Do you know what they're clapping for? And I praise the legislature then. They did everything to resist this, what they call executive order. He didn't want to go through the National Assembly. We must be up and doing even in this government. Yes, the present president was a beneficiary of demonstration, was a beneficiary of freedom of speech. So anybody doing anything in his name is harming the country. He will not be there forever. One day he will step down. His own family will be the ones complaining. So whatever you think you're doing because you're empowered today, believe you me, you are short-sighted.
Mr. Kyoshon, it's still that same issue, that same balance that we're trying to help people understand. The opinions are divided. In fact, part of the conversations has gone on in the course of the week is that the judiciary is itself fighting back. And I think that's where the issue of lawfare, began to, come up in the entire rhetoric. So the balance between free speech and the limits of free speech is a challenge that I think many people who have access to internet-enabled devices, as Chief Wazirike has said, that's where the challenge is. It would seem like people, once it is salacious news, people just want to put it out there. What are the dangers that people are at doing that without even knowing the extent to which it could go?
Thanks. The first thing is that by the time you are republishing or posting information that you have received from a source you know, you don't know, or you know, it kind of says that you agree with that information you are redistributing. So before you distribute information, it behoves on you to try and check and see, is this true? Is there any truth in it? And as we said, the difference, as my brother said earlier, between criminal defamation and just defamation is that you are making a statement which you know is false and it will cause harm to the other person. In which case, the maker of that is liable to an offense under the law because you know. And we have seen stories like this that have led to bloodshed. For instance, the Boko Haram situation you said, there have been situations where you see videos of saying they are killing the people in Ibadan now, there's shooting there, and all the houses in Ibadan are being attacked because somebody has put information knowing that it is not true and has put it, and other people are spreading it without checking. That can lead to a civil, some kind of disturbance, and a lot of bloodshed has been known to happen just because of fake news. So it is important that whoever is putting news in the space to double check before you repost it. If you're not sure, you can receive it, but don't send it to any other person.
Simon Ekpa, case in point.
You find a lot of stuff. There was a case I did for a governor in Nigeria, in which I represented him. And there was a lot of information put out about how many bank accounts he had, foreign monies he had, and how much they stated in that report, a newspaper report, different balances in about 9 different banks all over the world, include up to dollar and cent balances, 94.99. And the governor said, you know what, write the banks yourself before you even start defending me and find out the truth of this. I felt, like every Nigerian, I felt this governor has come. I've seen the story. I believe the story. How can this man say he doesn't have all these accounts? But by the time I wrote to the banks across the world, 7 out of those 9 banks said the man had no account to them. 4 of the banks did not even exist at all again. But meanwhile, someone put out the story that he had so much money in those banks.
Interesting.
Of course, there was harm intended to the man. You, the originator of the story, knew it was a lie. And how did you concoct that kind of story?
What's also interesting in all of this, Mr. Akiosho, and I'll bring it to you, Chief Wazirike, is that even legal practitioners, I think even the NBA has written about this, and I believe some journalists also are speaking that, look, that human rights is in jeopardy if this case goes against the man who made the allegations. And there are those who are also saying, look, there is no reason that the police should have gotten so involved as to come all the way from Ekiti State, arrest someone in Lagos, and take the person out of Lagos simply because criminal defamation is no longer a law in Lagos. But there are those who are also saying, look, all of a sudden everyone is no longer looking at the substance of the case, but are looking at the process of it, the issue of criminal defamation, the fact that I've been defamed in a way that could hurt other people that I have represented over time is no longer the issue. Libel is no longer even a thing right now in the entire conversation. It's the process of trying to enforce this. What do you make of that?
Well, they say justice must not only be done, but must be seen to have been done. The manner in which they went about this Dele Farotimi's case, believe you me, is in bad taste. I know that Dele reported himself to Zone 2 or so. I understand they are looking for me. And they said, well, come back another day. He himself made himself available. Before they came, V8 armies to grab him like an armed robber. But let me tell you, the first victim of fake news, bad news, is always the judiciary. As in this case, judiciary is on trial, but judiciary is on trial in every case, every day. Now, nobody is looking at what was posted or what was published in that book, like you said. All they see is that the heavy arms of the government have been descending on this poor man, this isolated man. And every day we have court cases. I think I can count about 4 civil cases in Oyo, in Abuja, against this man. Meanwhile, he's sitting there in one prison. 2 criminal cases, one in the High Court, the first one was in the Magistrate Court. And one of the issues raised before the Magistrate Court was, Magistrate Court, you don't have jurisdiction. A Magistrate Court, well, I will think about it. I will look into it. Meanwhile, put him somewhere until I finish thinking. In simple language, that's what it is. The High Court already said, well, bail, so and so. Somebody who has this, somebody who has that. And if you know the position of Chief Afebe Balola in Ekiti State, nobody will come forward. He is what I would call the doyen of legal practice in Southwest and Ekiti in particular. Nobody will come forward. But this is a well-known lawyer. You could have granted him bail in self-recognizance. Then you now have to ensure that the man stays inside that dingy cell. And the more he stays there, the more he attracts sympathy. And psychology should teach them that when you have a heavy hammer to go and hit a small fly, the world will say, what is going on? And that is what's going on now.
Chief, you say the judiciary is on trial, but it was already on trial once that book was released. And the sad thing for Dele, as far as I'm concerned, is that it's the same judiciary that he spoke about in the book that is now going to determine what happens to him.
Well, that's part of the crisis going on now, because in all sincerity, I cannot see a judge well-balanced presiding over this case, over a book, because he has to stand up and say, pages, I said so and so, is correct, and they expect him. The way the judiciary is set up is difficult, actually, to see a judge or a dishonest person receiving money. And I mean it, it's difficult. We have many good judges. We have many good magistrates. We have many good lawyers. But believe you me, it takes one apple to spoil the rest. We have, see, over the years, the judiciary has been trying to do something about it. There was a panel set up about 30 years ago. Oputa and Kayodesho were in charge. They went around the country. In present-day Delta State, there was a man who was never called to the bar, but he had risen to the position of a judge. He was a judge, presiding over cases. As soon as they called for his bio and everything, the man ran away, went to England and disappeared till today. A lawyer in Edo State was holding an office. A lawyer in quote, MBA office, until somebody came and said, this man was never a lawyer. And the man ran away. So judiciary itself is on continuous trial. And this is where the Chief Justice must come in. Be on the alert. In other words, all these cases you have people picking and choosing, as we say in law, forum shopping. You decide whether you go to Lagos or Abuja to go and try a case in River State or a case in Kano. You find a federal high court judge sitting on a case involving landlord or tenant or a chieftaincy matter. You don't need to be told that. It's common sense. Federal high court is a specialized court, and they don't handle such matters.
Okay, well, Mr. Akinoshun, the issue of, well, let's bring it to the people, because it's not really about law. It's more about free speech and fake news than it is about lawfare. We're just talking about how free speech and fake news operates within the judicial space. Now, looking at, and I'm sure you probably want to respond to a thing or two that Chief Wazirike has said, but looking at all of the issues now, I'm still back to where people need to begin to take precaution. It's easier, so much easier, in fact, very, very convenient for people to believe anything that is against government or that is against anyone in the elite in the country than it is to believe anything good about them. And I think that some would say that that makes the issue of free speech and fake news a little more dicey. How do you help us understand how to navigate that?
Yes, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you say, how do we dissect it? At what point in time does my free speech affect somebody else? As I said earlier, I represented a governor that even I, as the lawyer that he briefed, when I read the news report, my first reaction is that all these governors, he has taken money of the people, until I began to investigate it myself. And that is what leads me to say that, look, if you get information, check it yourself, do a double check before, even if you believe it, before you redistribute it, make sure you have checked it. My brother alluded to the fact that the judiciary being on trial is a serious situation because you have accused the judiciary. There are a few bad eggs, but can you use a bad egg to taint everybody black? So which judge will now hear that case without feeling that I am one of the accused? If you have facts relating to one or two of them, let us know those people, but don't go around just saying everybody is bad. And that is where the limits are, that if you have facts, stay with your facts, but don't just use in allusions. I could have said all governors are corrupt, but I said no, this governor was accused of corruption. I believe the story. Yes, there's a perception that all of them are making money, but the truth is that if you don't, as I said, if you don't catch somebody with it in his hands, or you don't have evidence of it, there's no point in just going out to say what will just damage reputation, and people will believe. He said also that in Ekiti State, nobody will come out against Chief Alfred Babalola. It shows the kind of reputation the man has built over the years, that if nobody is willing to say, I want to confront this man or say anything bad about it, it shows that his reputation is being harmed by someone saying the man is a criminal. And you need to balance these things carefully. Yes, you have freedom of speech, and we cannot remove that. You should be able to speak boldly and freely, but you should limit it to facts that are within your own control.
Well, still on that, you talked about perception, and that's one of the most subjective concepts in communication. what I say is one thing. How you interpret what I say is totally your call. And that cannot be taken away. It's a right that cannot be taken away from anyone. Even if all of the law and jurisprudence has found its way to the end of a particular matter, my perception remains my perception. Your perception remains your perception. So do you think that the law can actually decisively arrest perception?
Well, I think that is where the law provides what you call the reasonable man's test. What will a reasonable man think in this kind of situation? Your perception may sometimes be skewed by your own circumstances, but what would another reasonable man think? And it is that test of reasonability that the courts usually use to test the message you are passing across. That can it be perceived as being with a malicious intention? What you said or what you're doing, is there, you mentioned mens rea and actus reus. Is there the intention, and have you actively taken steps to make it real? I may think it, I may be right, but when I write it down and publish it, that is an action that shows that although I was thinking it, I'm also publishing it for other people to see and believe what I'm saying. So I want to bias other people. Is why I have done that publication. I could have said he stole money and kept quiet in my house. But when I now put it in a newspaper publication, I'm telling the whole world that I want you to know that this person is a criminal. And it is those two coming together that makes your perception now subject to what will any reasonable man that reads it think. That is the test of reasonability that the courts are always called to look at.
Yeah. We have a mail here from Festus Akimboiwa who says, the huge number of fake news and outright falsehoods we're experiencing in our country shows that journalism is in danger in Nigeria. While most of the fake news happens in the social media, mainstream media also spread fake news only to retract them after the damage has been done.
And there's a second one. And there are two of them.
Yes, free speech, fake news, without ability to prove malice or malicious intent. I believe people should be free to express themselves without being afraid of libel or harassment. Government needs to spend more time getting the general public educated than chasing a few people. That's from Skittish Money 27.
No, let me take on that, the issue of perception with you again, Chief Wazirike. You listen to what Mr. Kioshin said, and again, it's perception. After the case has been decided, I mean, the reactions in the publication under review, under criticism by the public now, is after the case, after the decision of the case. On the one hand, is that a decision was made. On the other hand, is that the decision of the Supreme Court was reviewed. And that is the perception, that has gone on after the case had been decided. So it is this issue of perception, because people will believe anything that is not supporting government or anyone in the elite most of the time. So, again, perception. Can we legislate it?
No. There's no way anybody can legislate perception in a free world. I keep saying free world. Because you can't, anything, let me just give you a small example. In North Korea, they clap. In China, they clap at the same time. They stop at the same time. They stand up at the same time, they sit down at the same time. In a free world, it's not so. I don't have to stand up if the president is entering here. I've committed no offense. So perception is important. They say it's 90% of impression. The agony many lawyers face through is that when your client comes, he says, we have to go and see the judge. You tell, I'm not interested in that. I don't know that kind of, I don't know what others are doing. Then he leaves. Whether he sees the judge or not, I don't know. But facts are sacred. And the way it is handled will always come in. So the perception of the ordinary man is that without seeing the judge, we will not get justice. And many of us are saying, no, that is not true. That we have many good judges. We have many straightforward cases. I will just give you a small example. The one that came up yesterday evening, the Court of Appeal decision on the allocation of River State funds. The Court of Appeal was firm and correct because only a madman would take a case from River State to go and judge in Abuja. And I'm happy that yesterday, the former governor of Kogi State, in granting bail, the judge said somebody has property within the jurisdiction of the court. Which jurisdiction of Abuja court extends to River State? So it is that perception of the common man that you have crossed the boundary.
Okay.
And I will always say this without any fear of contradiction. We have good judges, we have bad judges. We have good lawyers, we have bad lawyers. We have those who say, whatever it takes to win this case, bring it. And once they get a lawyer who is ready to do that, but the case you mentioned is a dangerous thing to review a judgment after.
Mr. Akiosho, we have to actually wind down now, but just before we go, this quick question. Can you say you are in a democracy if you suppress free speech?
No, you cannot be in a democracy and suppress free speech. And
thank you.
The difference between, we need to be clear, being able to speak freely is different from when you commit libel or defamation. I can speak freely anywhere. I can worship freely anywhere. It does not affect my freedoms. It is when my freedom starts impugning. Mr. Farutimi has been speaking, for instance, for several years. But it was when he spoke about Afe Babalola specifically that it became something that Chief Afe Babalola took up on his own or became an issue. So he's had the right to speak freely. You can speak freely, but when you now attack individuals or persons, that person also has a right. So yes, democracy allows you to speak freely, and you are in a being in the democracy allows freedom of speech.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Dakbo Akiosho, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who joined us virtually, and we had in the studio legal practitioner Chief Godi Uwazurike. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Coming to shed more light on this for us this
Compliments of the season.
Same to you. Thank you.
I'm bringing you around. He's coming Sunday.
Have a good day.
Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do join us.
Thank you for remaining with us. You know, we said earlier that so many things that happen isochronously all over the nation. And Anambra State is no less one of those states where those things are happening. It is no longer news, and if it is news to you, know it now, that Anambra State emerged the best performing state at the 2024 Primary Healthcare Leadership Challenge Awards held in Abuja. Only 20% of Nigeria's 30,000 PHC facilities are fully functional, leaving most unable to provide essential services despite their critical role. The challenge was launched in 2022 by the federal government, the Nigerian Governors Forum, and partners like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and UNICEF to evaluate states on governance, financing, service delivery, and sustainability. Of course, the Anambra State Governor reacted, said he remains committed to a vision of creating a livable, clean, and prosperous Anambra State. So let's have a conversation with him on this and several other issues this morning. Professor Charles Soludo joins us. He is the governor of Anambra State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this, and always a pleasure to join this you on this particular program.
You know, forgive me.
Before we start, Governor, congratulations on being the best state in this healthcare competition that took place. Was it really a competition?
Well, clearly. Otherwise, you wouldn't emerge if you didn't. You know, what's funny, Your Excellency, I almost said Professor Charles Soludo, Governor of Ekiti State. I'm waiting for that day. Okay. Well, first of all, it's been quite a length of time segueing from the private sector into public government, and then from federal government to state government and all of that. What's this journey been like for you?
Well, there is only one goal. It's everything in life. Thank you very much once again for having me. It's, as you said in your intro, our mission here is to contribute our quota in building a livable and prosperous, smart mega city, Anambra, because we believe it has all the potentials to be able to, be the best that it can possibly be. And so when you said the journey from private, academia, international consulting to the federal government and now to Anambra, there is only one purpose. And that purpose is that we've got a short while here on earth. And while we're here on earth, everybody at the last day will have to answer one question. How did you leave the place better than you met it? And so for me, this journey is driven by that singular purpose, that here on earth, we must contribute to the work of God and live in this place better than we met it. But just talking about, the context that you really did mention, our mission here actually is to give real content, real ideological content to politics and governance in using our state as a case study. We are the foremost progressive political party in Nigeria, the All Progressives Grand Alliance, and our mantra is leave no one behind. In fact, our motto is be your brothers and sisters keeper. And so for us, we realize that the system is as strong as the weakest link. And therefore, leaving no one behind or progressivism is not just a slogan. It is one that you've got to mainstream. It is one that you've got to purposefully, intentionally drive to be sure that all aspects of society, particularly the weakest link, is actually stitched up. And I like the statistics that you mentioned. Nationwide, about 20% being, of PHCs, primary health centers, not functional nationwide. Here in Anambra, when we came, even the entire health infrastructure as a foundation, together with education, human capital being the foundation for this livable and prosperous society we intend to do, we purposely began to focus in a laser form to create an ecosystem, a health ecosystem that strengthens the bottom, where you have the base, the primary health system, the secondary, where we have the general hospitals, building 5 brand new general hospitals, and in all the local government that didn't have them, refurbished about 3 of them, so 8 of them brand new now. And then at the tertiary level, getting our tertiary institutions, the teaching hospital. We're building the biggest trauma center in, somebody says in Africa, I don't know, but the relative numbers and so on. Building a cancer center and oncology services, oncology services to our people. There's a work in progress. But at the base, like I said, the system is as strong as the weakest link. We realize that less than about only 25% of the population actually patronize public health institutions. That's a joke, actually. And we were bent on reversing this and providing access to the vast majority of the people. And therefore, part of it was to tackle the primary health centers in the 326 wards in Anambra, giving them, refurbishing their infrastructure, putting on solar, water, re-equipping them. Very importantly, about 19 general hospitals when we came didn't have medical personnel, let alone the primary health care services. We've now recruited barely about 1,000 medical professionals, consultants, nurses, pharmacists, and so on, and put them in all our medical facilities, especially the primary health centers. And we're on course to really now the innovation part, telemedicine, where we are using technology to link these primary health facilities to secondary care, where you have 24-hour call services by standby qualified doctors. So once you are in a ward, you should be able to have access to a doctor 24/7. And so for us, it's very intentional, deliberate, and systematic approach to upscaling all of this. And then at the policy level, even the legal framework to be able to monitor and control even the quack hospitals and everywhere to ensure a holistic, qualitative healthcare system to our people. But also even our own public sector thing to ensure a law has been passed to ensure that we have health facility monitoring and accreditation law, which we have done, but deploying technology. But very fundamentally, we'll have a policy of free antenatal, free delivery services to the, in all the government health facilities in Anambra State. And I will tell you, so far, about 82,888 beneficiaries have benefited from this particular program. We pay all expenses.
Wow.
You go for antenatal, we give you free drugs and your delivery, including cesarean. And now cesarean, the latest statistics I have is that close to 400 cesarean operations have been successfully executed under this program. All free of charge.
Wow.
All free of charge in the state. Like I said, a progressive idea. Progressivism is not just a slogan. It's foundational to building this livable and prosperous society where no one is left behind. It's the same thing we're doing in education, for example. When we came on and prioritized recruiting 8,115 teachers, recruited from 18 states of Nigeria, because quality and expertise, we don't just want to recruit, we want to have the best teacher to teach our children, not the incompetent teacher from the village. So to speak, and that has raised, school enrollment in public schools by about 20%, and out-of-school children in Anambra is the lowest in the country of the 36 states and FCT. So it's a very intentional, deliberate agenda, aside from massive investment in education, of scaling their infrastructure, including migration to sustainable, smart education,
Prof.
and so on. So for us,
Prof.
This is only part of a program of building, prioritizing human capital as a foundation to that society that is livable and prosperous.
Prof, let me take you back to the free antenatal care which you spoke about. Sometimes government has all the good intentions in the world, but those who are actually supposed to implement it sabotage the government's efforts. And the case in point was last Christmas when there were government instituted free train rides on the newly refurbished trains from certain areas across Nigeria, and it was discovered that the staff of the agency were sabotaging that effort. buying all the tickets and, well, collecting the tickets, hiding them and not letting the people have access to those tickets or selling them to the public. Now, this free antenatal which you have spoken about, are you sure that those supposed to actually implement it? You mentioned 400 cesarean sections having been done already. Are you sure that somewhere along that line, nobody is sabotaging these efforts?
Well, thank you very much. Every human system, as you know, is subject to some abuse or the other, and that is why you set up all the monitoring, all the evaluation, supervisory systems in place. As I always said to my people when we were in the executive council, it's become a slogan that an assignment not supervised is an assignment not given. And so for us, the supervision, the reporting in the entire loop is very, very critical. But so far, we have had no evidence of that. In fact, the surge to public facilities that even a whole lot of private providers of these antenatal and delivery services are now crying because there is a surge in thousands, you can say, within some months. I have been in office for 2 years plus now. And within a year plus of this policy, you've seen about 82,888 beneficiaries and with near zero mortality in the deliveries. And that tells you there must be something working. And we also have, the reporting, the whistleblowing thing and how you report even the patients. If you're not getting the care that you need, how you call and report, and we'll get this loop. We've got a very efficient team in terms of the leadership of my health ministry, and they're working around the clock, ensuring that the monitoring, the health facility monitoring system working. And we're also deploying technology very, very effectively in this monitoring and evaluation exercise. And so far, I would say, so good.
Absolutely.
We have had over about 83,000 beneficiaries
it's a
less
lot.
than 2 years.
And just as you said, in 2 years to have done so much is quite an achievement and something that anyone can't take away from you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to win that award, as that we were talking about earlier. But in all of these, and I'm sure there are a number of pain points that you would have, sitting in the privileged position that you have. One of them is the insecurity that continues to pervade the Southeast. People hear all of these things. They still hear that in some environments, there is no such thing as going to work on a particular day of the week. Well, some would say, wait a minute, does that still exist in the 21st century? But it's the news that still comes up. Maybe you want to tell us whether or not we still have such a thing. You are a governor. We can't just, you have to be able to talk about what's happening in the Southeast region, because there are those who look at the Southeast region as the economic, kind of trade headquarters, so to speak, of the country. So if we have any semblance of insecurity in that environment, I'm sure it's a kind of pain point that you as a governor, along with your colleagues, are having to deal with.
Oh, yes. The first point, that's insecurity. Literally, the issue of insecurity has become now a buzzword in the entire country. Insecurity everywhere in the country, and depending on the degree and the types and so on. Different states with different forms in terms of the character and the perversity of the insecurity. That's the first point. Second is that, yes, the Southeast faces a little bit something that you can say a mixture of ideology and criminality, barefaced criminality. First, there was the agitation movement, but then criminals have taken over much of that. They're now in the bush and involved in a lucrative criminal enterprise, kidnapping, as the case may be. But again, I have to also put a footnote that part of this is also a lot of hype. You know, if there is one incident that goes in the era of social media, it goes right around as if you get to the place, bullets are flying over everybody's head and so on. I mean, when you talk about sit at home, yes, to a large extent, I would say still half of the Southeast, you still find that. In my state, the battle is on. The capital city and the environs, there is no such thing. In some other cities, yes, maybe in the morning, some people still want to see how it goes from 12 o'clock, and then people are out there in the street. But we're very, very focused on tackling this. In fact, by Monday, Tuesday, we will be launching major all-out initiative that we're coming out full scale in terms of what we can do at the kinetic level in terms of matching this force, as it were. We'll be launching what we call Operation Udogachi, and that is that peace must prevail, as it were, Monday or Tuesday. But then, following this at a deeper level, because there is some ideology to this, following it with longer, medium to longer term non-kinetic approaches, mobilizing the people to realize that this is plain criminality. They're not just because we're fighting a situation where the people have been brainwashed to believe that the criminals are in fact their liberators. And that's a very, awkward situation. And so you don't even know who you are, almost like in a guerrilla warfare. You find these guys in the bush. Some people believe that they are the actual liberators for them. Yeah. And then you are the one, have to explain to them that these are the kidnappers, these are the criminals.
And that's a very interesting way. That's a very interesting approach, Your Excellency. But then I'm sure you're also aware of this whole initiative by, I think it was even the governor of Kaduna State who spoke on behalf of governors, that most of the governors now line up behind the state police initiative. First of all, what's your take on that? Secondly, for the Southeast specifically, do you think it will help address anything, particularly the issues that you have raised?
Well, yeah, this is it's not just a majority. It's the idea, a project whose time has come. You can't live in denial. You do the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome. That's the definition of being, insanity. It's a time for us to try something else. I know some people have reservations, it might be abused. And I say, what system in the world is built and it's not abused? Come on. It's abused, and then as you then try it, systems grow by trial. Systems develop, institutions develop through practice. No institution was developed even in the US to practice all this thing. Several of these, or in the UK and all. There will still be incidents of abuse here and there, but you cannot be afraid of death and commit suicide in the process. So the idea of state police will certainly advance this thing to significantly, because the issue of ownership is very critical. And let me give you an example. Ownership is very important. When you advertise for recruitment into the Nigerian army, the people from here don't apply. You advertise for recruitment into the Nigerian police. People from here refuse to apply. We advertise to recruit a local vigilante, and you have hundreds of thousands applying. What do you think is the issue here? So, ownership, local ownership, every security, insecurity thing is a local thing, especially when people begin to doubt even people no longer, because of this ideological separatist movement, people are a little bit suspicious of the others. You need to have a conversation as to how the people themselves will own their policing and security architecture. Without the ownership by the locals, without their ownership, and the people themselves come out and report the criminals, how do you get the intel? How do you know who is the criminal? Because they live among the people. These criminals, the kidnappers and so on, they are people's husbands, they are people's uncles, they are people's brothers, they are people's relations and so on and so forth. They live in the villages. But the people largely maintain a culture of silence. To some extent, they don't trust the some of the institutions to come forward and so on, because there is this mindset as to what is their mission and so on. So that is one bucket of it. But even at a fundamental level, as we speak, you have to think that we can police Nigeria and, from Abuja. I think the evidence is quite clear. It's just, it's just not going to work. You've got to decentralize this. I'm even saying state police, we're going to ultimately even get down from state police to local government policing framework. We copied this presidential system from America, but we do copy only some parts and we leave off the others. There you have county police, you have the state, and of course the federal ones coordinating, and so on and so forth. So policing has to become local and largely, to be effective, coordinating with the federal forces, and then the funding, which comes down to issue about our fiscal federalism, what resources are sent down, and so on and so forth. Will the states be able to fund this when many states are struggling to pay their basics and so on and so forth? It would differ from state to state, but let that option be there. Let people have the option to be able to equip an army. I'm not going to, on this particular platform, say all the challenges you have with the centralized system. That some of those are off the camera. Okay. But the general point to be made is that the idea of state police is an idea whose time has long come. It hasn't just come. It's long come a long time ago. Okay, but, Prof.
Yeah, Prof. What are your thoughts about local government autonomy?
Yeah. My thought. I know you. I can see even from your face, you're already. From your face, you were trying to be mischievous. Anyway, that's what I can guess from your laughter. Even as you asked the question, the way you started laughing, I knew you could see that you were trying to. But let's put it this way. I guess there is a total something gets on in our lexicon, and we'll start discussing this, and we'll start talking about autonomy, non-autonomy. I don't know where that ever comes from. You have 3 tiers, 3 levels of government that have to work in a collaborative and cooperative way with only one mission. They have only one mission. That mission is the security and welfare of the people.
Yep.
Whether it's the local, whether it's the state, under the federal. And the 3 of them have to work in a coordinated and collaborative way for it to work. So you cannot clap with your left hand being autonomous of the, so it depends on what you mean by autonomy, actually. Autonomy in the sense of autarky. Of course, it's all an oxymoron, as it were. But are local governments going to have their delineated responsibilities as defined in the Constitution, and for them to actually deliver on those and get them to work? Absolutely. the local governments must take charge. And here in Anambra, we're trying to get the system to work in a form that is developmental, that makes public finance, local government finance, delivery of services go on a sustainable basis. And let me ask you, I mean, I put up something. That was the discussion about sending money directly to the local governments and so on and so forth. I'm all for it. Fair enough, the Supreme Court has spoken. You send money to them, absolutely no problem. Just like you also send to the states. As we speak now, we sat at the National Economic Council 2 days ago and decided that we should directly from FAC money before sharing, take out money to fund a federal institution, which is RAMFAC. The same way we take out money from there to fund, which we put into funding of national security system before the money is distributed. This is part of the coordination that we all agree that we need to come together to fund this common service at the federal level. And we have done that. At the state level, what many people don't know is that the Local Government Service Commission, the local government workers in many states, especially mine, in most states, you have pooled staff. You don't have workers belonging to a specific local government. The workers are posted from one local government to the other. Yep. Under the Universal Basic Education, you have the primary school teachers that are pooled together and they are posted from one local government to the other. Now, several people have retired and they are now pensioners. Some, they probably never even worked in their own local government of origin and they are now retirees. What we're saying is, even if you pay resources independently to the local government, there are now common services that they must pool resources together to deal with. How do you pay that pensioner who has worked for 30, 35 years and retired and now has to be paid pension? Whose responsibility will it be if the local governments don't pool some of their resources together to deal with that? The teachers in the primary school, that's what this resource is meant for. Because I hear all this manner of conversation. Governors take local government money to do. And so when I came in, the local government system, they were owing 14.6 billion unpaid arrears to retired people from the civil service, retired primary school teachers, and so on and so forth. Their gratuity. The local government system was all but broke.
It raises another question, Your Excellency. My sincere apologies. It raises the question because what we understand from the state, the joint accounts of the state and local government is that on the one hand, the federal government puts the money into that purse. The state government also should put money into that purse. Okay? To
correct you, it's not federal government
Federation
that putting money there.
Federation
it is the the federation.
Okay.
It doesn't put money. It is the share, their constitutional share of the federation. Have you ever asked yourself, let me not even get, I think I don't want us to derail from the substance of the matter. The substance of the matter is that you must have a framework that ensures that local governments, their finances are sustainable, and that they deliver the services that they are required to do. Now that you have pooled services, this pool of services, you got to find a way that they now pool their resources to be able to fund those pool of services. That is and then the state itself. For example, I understand that before this 1999 Constitution, when they tried some of the other ones, in my state, for example, there were local government that were owing salaries to primary school teachers 2 years plus, 3 years plus. Some owing pension, so each month, you don't know which local government will pay salary this month, or which local government will pay will not pay, and so on and so forth. And some local government will even say, no, don't post primary school teachers to us because it will raise their wage bill, and so on. And it's a total chaos. And for example, if a local government goes bankrupt, is unable to meet its bills, who bails it out?
State government.
Well, that's a question you have to answer, Your Excellency.
Now you come back again.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
So where you are,
yes,
for example, is that you got to have, for example, what we've tried to do in Anambra, such a beautiful response. Okay, we've designed a system which we think can work, and I'm glad many states, also on that same trajectory, because we learn this our federalism is imperfect. We keep adjusting as we see the problems. There must be a logic what the framers of the Constitution saw to set up the joint account. If it's being abused and so on, then we must find other ways of, crafting something, but you don't see a particular problem and then you throw away the entire system. What we now have is a system that ensures sustainability, ensures that workers, and by the way, you realize that NLC, National Union of Teachers, National Union of Pensioners, and so on and so forth, wrote to the federal government and said, please don't send our money to local governments. We know what we went through before. But we're saying, no, even if it's sent there, these local governments can come together and say, okay, this is what belongs to us. What do we require to make sure that teachers are paid? What do we require to ensure that the pensioners who have worked in our local government system
and that's
paid?
One very good way.
Let's put this together, pay them off, and then you appropriate the balance of it all.
Absolutely.
That way, the system then operates on autopilot. Local governments are able to deliver the services that they are required under the law, but making sure that you don't wreck the core of the functions that are being assigned to these institutions, by that level of government, by the Constitution.
Your Excellency, it will be remiss of us to not ask you this, a final question concerning all of the reforms that the federal government has initiated, particularly the tax reform bills, which a good number of people feel the governors are up in arms against. We have just about 2 minutes for you on this. What is your take on these tax reform bills? You have been, you've headed the central bank before, so you do understand what the challenges are in terms of, federation account, federal government's money, state government's money, and all of that. Is it going to be helpful in the short, medium, or long term, or do you think there are some things that need to be adjusted in the interest of all concerned?
You've asked a short question that ought to have a very long answer, but you said you have just 1 minute or two. I think...
my producer is in my ears right now telling me that people have overrun already, but please go ahead.
Okay, now that you have overrun, I think I better... I'm not going to... and don't drag me the way you have framed it and so on and so forth. I think the very first point to be made, without a question, is that we need the tax reforms.
Cool.
There's no if and buts about it. Do we need tax reforms? Of course we do. Do we need a restructuring of our fiscal federalism? Yes, we do. I have written about this extensively myself while I was in government from 2003 until I left. Even after I left office, I wrote some back page articles on the back page of This Day that the way we're going is just a journey to nowhere with regards to our fiscal federalism and with regards to even our tax structure, the tax incentives. Some of the tax structure, the way they're designed is such that they don't give us any, there's no incentive for people to be productive, as it were. It's a big topic to be dealt with. Now, I know there are issues. Issue of taxation comes within the heart of the political economy. gets down to the issue of power and politics. That's at the vortex of it. Politics, as I say, some define it as the authoritative allocation of value, or the process that determines who gets what, when, and how. So the tax conversation around tax gets into the vortex of this. And you can see where interests now come in. Diverse interests will come in. And so the conversation that I believe we need to narrow, hopefully sooner than later, is to come down to the issue of the distribution, the attribution, the distribution thing, because I see much of the conversation when all the chiefs are down, they pen down to just a few, one or two line items. And I think you get a small team in the room and we'll be able to hammer this out, get onto the negotiations. Some of it is just crass bargaining.
Absolutely.
And get this done. But do we need a tax reform?
Yes, we do.
We needed it. We needed it 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Your Excellency. I mean, I wish we had more time. In fact, we have to make more time for this. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Professor Charles Soludo is the governor of Anambra State. I'm not going to make the mistake of thinking Ekiti State this time around. Have a wonderful rest of your day, sir.
Well, my brother in Ekiti is doing a great job.
Oh, certainly. Most certainly.
Thank you.
I'm just looking forward to that day where we'll have a Governor Soludo in Kaduna State, Chukwuemeka Eze in Lagos, and all of those. But, you know, those days are going to come. Thank you for your time.
They're welcome. So they're welcome. They're welcome in Nigeria, and Suleiman in this other place. We actually had the first mayor of Enugu happen to be a northerner.
Wow.
I think one Usman or something, the first mayor in the 50s. Absolutely. But I think we'll get there. Nigeria will regain back. It's not by accident that God made us the biggest black nation on earth. We must realize our potentials.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next conversation is coming up right after now.
Thank
like
you.
That. You think it's where you are living.
Sorry?
When you see estate, you think it's where you are living. Just say.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we have FBN Quest here with us again today. And as the year comes to an end, many people reflect on their accomplishments, aspirations, and goals for the coming. Well, sometimes they wait till January 1 before they do that. But they're looking back and okay, what did I achieve this year that is coming to an end, and how would I like to improve on it for the next year? One critical area often overlooked is estate planning, and like he said, not the estate in which you live. You know, you're thinking about okay, I'm not going to be here forever. What do I want to happen to that my little handbag and that my little car out there?
The one you got where?
You know. Well, today the FBN Quest trustees people are here again to tell us why now is the best time to secure your legacy with a well-structured estate plan for the new year. Please welcome Mr. Rotimi Obembe, Head Private Trust, FBN Trustees.
Thank
Good
you
morning
very much.
again.
Good morning.
Are we going to be seeing you every month now?
We should.
Until the quest is done.
And he's come along with the private trust specialist, Ms. Mutiat Olatunji. Good morning.
Good morning, Ma. Good morning, sir.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Why is the end of the year a crucial time for us to be looking at, I'm going to die, I'm going to die?
So, estate planning is not all about I'm going to die.
It's part of it.
No. Okay, it's the end game.
It is the end game, yes.
But it's more about what you do when you are alive. So it's you now taking an active step or taking certain actions. Let me say, when people hear estate planning, like he said, they want to start to think about their estate where they live. it is just another form of inheritance planning. How do I plan for the assets that I've received? You know that a lot of people enjoy today because their parents did something for them back on, and they are basically living on those legacies. So it's legacy planning. Now the question is...
Some of my friends don't have to work at all because their fathers have done work for them.
For them, yeah.
So they drive the latest cars,
Correct.
They live in the nicest houses without lifting a finger.
And so that's what we are saying. Because their parents did that, we're encouraging the children, and even those parents that have not thought about it, to do something. And it's important that they do it now. Now, this at the end of the year, many of us, whether you go to church or you go to mosque, what you are doing is you're basically trying to have a New Year resolution. You have looked at the year and you're then asking yourself, what do I want to do in 2025? Many of us, I would say this, there's a statistics that says that in America, 40% of people make New Year resolutions. I think in Nigeria it's higher. So I would just say maybe about 60 to 70%. And what do? We have goals for our children, we have for their school, we have goals for our health. Some of us want to have medical tests done in the new year. And we have goals around, some of us want to change jobs, not Michelle. We want to change jobs and then look for other jobs. But what we don't seem to do, and you said it, is think about our legacies, think about our assets. Many of us don't have an asset inventory. The properties we bought 5-10 years ago, some of us don't even know where they are. And so that's why it's important, that's why it's crucial to think estate planning.
All right, so thank you.
Miss Adetunji, why are you looking at me from the side of your eyes?
Because from what Rotimi has said, that imagine that you say, oh, that you've not had so much that you want to now give or plan a legacy, and then most people would think, Rotimi is talking planning legacy or leaving something behind. Do I even have enough for myself, not to talk of leaving something behind? But what we've come to realize is that when you sit down and take a conscious effort and draw up your assets inventory, you'll be surprised at the number of things you own. What is pricey to you might not be pricey to someone else, and what is not pricey to you might be pricey to someone else. It might even just be a piece of jewelry that's gone from one generation to the other that you want to retain in the family, and you want it to keep passing on. If you don't have something documented for it, nobody's going to know what your intentions are. And it might even be that you want to start that legacy. You have a pricey item. You have something you want to do. It might even be an endowment. You've thought about it over the years that you want to give back to the society. You want to give back to your alma mater. But it just keeps rolling around your head. But you can set up something today. So it's just beyond dying, like Rotimi has said. It might be that you want to set up an endowment. It might be that it's the end of the year and you want to actively start giving back to the society at the end of every year. You might set up something for that. That is part of estate planning.
Well, there are some people who are sold on that. You will tell us where to go and get more information later. But for those who are wondering, okay, what do I do now? What steps can people take right now to ensure they are starting the new year on the right footing when it comes to estate planning?
The first thing is for you to take an asset inventory, then determine what you want to do with those assets. Now, one crucial thing that people don't pay attention to end of the year, beginning of the new year, is their medical and financial incapacity. What happens or what would become of you if tomorrow you are medically incapacitated? So people don't want to think of that because it's the end of the year and everybody just wants to enjoy and hope to make it to the next year. Amen. But there are other things you can think about, and those things should propel your mind to start thinking, what assets do you have? How do you want to enjoy the assets during your lifetime? Because that's the most important thing. How do you want to pass it to other people? Then if for any reason you get medically or financially incapacitated, how do you want things to play out? Because God forbid you have a medical emergency, you have the funds in the bank, but you can't sign your check, you can't do that transfer, but you need the money urgently. What happens? So that is a combination of financial incapacity and medical incapacity all in one. So we need to actively think about all these things because we see it play out on a daily basis and have something written and documented with respect to it.
Now, Mr. Bibi, there are those who are wondering, okay, because I know we don't have so much time with you, and this conversation, especially whenever you are seated here, gets so interesting. You want to keep going and going. going on and on. So maybe you want to share examples, first of all, so that people can have, the right perspectives of how procrastinating estate planning has caused issues for families.
Okay, so I know of some people, January, February this year, when you had those conversations with them, and they will tell you that they will do it, they never get it done. Now imagine worst case scenario, I've lost a couple of friends or clients this year, and the first thing that happens is the fact that the surviving spouse is not able to pay school fees. Why? Because there was no plan in place for the children. Not because they don't have money in the bank. They have money in the bank. They have assets. They have properties. But because they are not able to gain access to them, then nothing is done. So for that period where they then try and get a letter of administration because they would need the monies in the bank, it can take 9 months. It can take 12 months. What then happens to their lifestyle? So they are not able to pay education. They are not even able to even go on holidays or go on vacations because their life is at a pause. They've stopped. Everything basically have stopped. In some instances, people have started to render help to them, all this urgent 2K. Not because they don't have money, but because they are not able to access what they have because there was no plan in place. And the reason why there was no plan in place was because they were procrastinating. I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah. I'll do it tomorrow. There are some people listening to us now that you see our numbers there, you say, I'll call him. I'll call tomorrow. 1 year later, they are still, I will call him. Yes. So those are procrastinating. Those are people that are procrastinating. But it's then important conscious effort. We keep saying, and we've seen it play many times. And I have this colleague of mine, when he was growing up, his daddy would take him to some area in Lagos and say, that's my land. When he passed on, then he was about 10 years. He passed on when he got to 18, 19, 20. Going back to those locations became a problem because Lagos had changed. Yes. Lagos had changed from what it was 10 years ago. So who do you want to be able to keep inventory of all of these things? You will lose assets, you lose properties, you lose cash in the bank when your family members are not able to gain assets. And all of this is as a result of procrastination.
So how does FBN Quest help with this?
Okay, so first, we keep telling you this is a platform where we encourage people. I keep saying that for the percentage of clients that we have written either wills or created trust for, we've not lost 2% of them. That's significant. So people fear. First thing is that you need to kill that fear. The same way you are planning for 2025 on other areas, you need to plan estate planning. So how do we help? Call us. Let's understand your mindset. Let's understand your thoughts. Many of us have created companies, whether they are shell companies or real companies, who are the beneficiaries? Our children. Your child is a minor. If anything happens to you, that child cannot sit on any board. Some of us have, sorry to say, field forms where our assets are stored and you have named your spouse or your children as your next of kin. It's a concept we keep saying. Nothing is going to happen. So reach out to us. Let's have a conversation. Let's speak. Let's see how we can better understand you and what your needs are, and we can then provide you with tailored solutions. Okay.
Ms. Olatunji, from what he just said, sometimes the whole thing gets overwhelming. Okay, like he said, we see your number, and we keep saying we'll call tomorrow, and we never get round to it. So how can you put this thing into simple steps for us to follow so that we do get off our behinds and do what we have to do in good time?
Okay, so I think the best way to ensure that you have an estate plan is to see it as part of your financial plan. So don't see estate planning as a standalone. the way you make plans and say, oh, 2025, I want to make X amount of money, I want to invest X amount of money. As you're making that money, you also now need to consciously think of, how am I going to enjoy that money for myself? And how will I secure it for my loved ones? When you have that dual mentality, it makes it, number one, it makes it easier. And that way you're not thinking of debts. You're just thinking of safety. You're thinking of preservation. And you're also thinking of enjoying it by yourself during your lifetime. So once you're setting your financial goals for 2025, you also need to tie in estate planning to it. So the moment you're thinking of that investment, that house that you want to buy, just reach out to FBN Quest Trustees and say, I want to buy this house. Rather than buying it in my name, I write to buy it in the name of the trust. So that way it is settled. You've used one stone to kill two birds, because you've checked a list on your 2025 goal. You've bought a house, but you've also secured it by purchasing the house, not in your personal name, but in the name of the trust. So when people think finance for 2025, they should also think estate planning. And when you speak to us at FBN Quest Trustees, there's a way we can help you seamlessly merge and manage the entire process from start to finish.
I bought the property in the name of a trust. So I bought the property as an asset. So when whoever takes the place wants to pay, to which account are they going to pay the rent?
So because it is a trust asset, the rental income comes into the trust. However, you are the alpha and omega of your trust. So if the rental income comes in today, you can give instruction on how you want it distributed.
So it comes into FBN Quest?
Yes, and then you give instructions.
Into your account with FBN Quest.
Into my account with FBN Quest. Yes, because
you have a trust account, and when you are giving tenants or when you're dealing with tenants, you will provide an account number to the tenants, and they will pay into that account number, which is your account with us at FBN Quest Trustees.
Mr. Bembe, do you know that every time you have come here, we have never discussed what FBN will charge you for all this service? Because certainly it's not going to be 100,000. It's not going to be
contribution to society.
Yeah. So there are a number of things that we do in terms of contribution to the society. One of the things we do is to say we have our standard fee scale. And if, for example, somebody comes, so I'll say, for example, if I'm going to charge any working client into our office, let's say for the sake of this conversation, ₦1 million. If you tell me that I listen to you on channels, and based on that conversation that we have on channels, I want to set up an estate plan. Because of that, we can then give you a discounted value of, let's say, 75% or even 50%. So what does that mean? Simple English. In simple English, it means that instead of me charging you 1 million, I'll charge you 250,000 naira to help you create an estate plan. Now, that's a contribution. Now, there are also instances where we then give to the society. So, for example, it's end of the year. Schools are having special programs, and we are donating actively in support of those schools. There are different alumni, for example, that are looking at how they can better structure their associations such that in future it runs seamlessly. We can come in, help them set up an alumni trust at no cost. Setup cost 0, but there's an annual cost, which is based on the income that the trust earns. So there are a number of ways that we do provide to the society.
Do you send Christmas hampers to your clients?
Oh yes, we send that.
You say rampers, because
it depends on who you are gifting an hamper to. Yes, so we clearly send hampers to our clients.
Well, clearly you will not be getting hampers or rampers or whatever. But I'm going to ask you this question now. For those who are looking ahead to 2025, I mean, you've spoke about it the other time. What are the key considerations that you think they should keep in mind to create a sustainable and a clear estate plan?
Okay, so the most important thing, which is the first, is the objects. What are your intentions? Some people say that I just want to... I've sat down with a client before and said, you know what, my father did not leave anything for me, so I'm not going to leave anything for my kids. I just want to structure something that would benefit me, and whatever is left when I'm gone, they can just share one off. And some other clients will say, I want generations to come to know that grandpa or great-grandpa left something for them. So the objective and what you intend to achieve is the most important thing you need to consider, be it generational wealth transfer, be it business succession planning, be it charity, be it so anything at all. The objective is the most important thing. Now, the object is what now drives every other structure that we'll put in place at FBN Quest Trustees. Because if you come to us and say you want to set up a generational wealth transfer kind of scheme, we now sit down and do something tailored made to fit your objective. So all you need to tell us is your vision and your mission, and then we crystallize it into something great, even beyond what you can imagine. Because we have clients that have set up trust and even wills that are going across generation, and they set clear parameters for admitting beneficiaries. So if you are born into the family, these are the things you have to do. This is the extent that you enjoy from the trust. Some say that when every person in the family is getting married, the trust sponsors the wedding. And there are so many things like that. There are also incentive. Clients will say to you that if my child or my grandchildren finish with a particular grade in school, they get a gift from the trust. So your objective drives what structure we'll put in place for you at FBN Quest Trustees. So what we just need everybody listening to us today is to sit down, come up with clear objectives. What do you intend to achieve with your estate plan? And then just reach out to us at FBN Quest Trustees.
Is there a minimum to the investment? Okay, this because he talked about $1 million. See if you can just pick it by bus stop. Is there a minimum that people can invest?
So we will say that there's no minimum. Again, your objective matters.
Actually, but
I have a client that started with as low as 50,000 naira, and she was consistent on a monthly basis. And our goal was, I want my kids to school abroad. And today, our trust is worth over 50 million naira. So what she did was that as her earning capacity increased, she kept inflowing more. So she just kept setting something aside. She was very consistent, and she's still building it. So you can start small, and before you know it, and with your return on investment and all, your trust is going to go beyond your imagination.
Okay. What number do people call? Which website do they go to? etc.
Okay, so in terms of number to call, it's 08054 000 299. Let me take it again, 08054 000 299. You can visit us at fbnquest.com, on all social media platforms at fbnquest. But let me close with this. I know we're running out of time. Yeah. Many of us wear our seatbelt after an accident has occurred. Many of us start to
Not
think
anymore.
estate planning, unless if the road safety stops. And that's what we are trying to say to you. Let's be the road safety that encourages you to put a plan in place. Do not wait until a disaster occurs.
And the website is legacyseries.fbnquest.com. legacyseries.fbnquest.com. Is there any other thing you'd like to leave with us?
No, they have left their numbers. Let's go.
Okay, thank you very much. We wish you all the best. Well, I am expecting my Christmas hamper.
Okay. And like pass, because it's just not just hand. Just saying.
I'll speak with your relationship manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rotimi Obembe, Head Private Trust, FBN Quest Trustees, and Ms. Mutiat Olatunji, Private Trust Specialist over at FBN Quest. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, the pleasure is ours.
Merry Christmas to you.
Oh, same to you, ma.
Sunrise will return with the lifestyle segment in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Nwanyị dị mana nwere nwanyị ka ibe ya enirebe eje ọrụ ofe anya ji isi ụgwọ nwa ọma eji eje mba ọ dị be eze nwa m edemokọ anya foro onugbaje bọs na abịrịba nwa m ekene m gekene m ọ ya dị
You're my melody, my sweet baby, the one where they make my heart go jim and shake body. See, I promise you, you go chop money. The love way you give me so, and I don't really. The queen will own my heart, the crown upon my head, the essence of my life. Oh, you know me more. The queen will own my heart. Unafugo, achalugo wa mamo. Obimo, uyemo. Unafugo, suku agozi gomo. See as you smooth like silk, your voice like milk. Heaven lost an angel when you came to me. You're so amazing, baby. I have to say it twice. This love you give me so unadorable. The queen will own my heart, the crown upon my head, the essence of my life. Oh, you know me more. The queen will own my heart, the crown upon my head, the essence of my life. Oh, you know me more. Obimo, uyemo. Unafugo, achalugo wa mamo. Obimo, uyemo. Unafugo, suku agozi gomo.
Ogene, achalugo nwanyi ọma m, ada na-eri ukwu anụ, asa nwa m, ọmalịcha nwa m, nwa ọma yiri igolo, ugegbe m, nwaanyị ọma amụrụ amụ, ugo nwaanyị m, ugo eze,
My skin.
So what's all this?
I'm just showing.
Well, I've seen better skin than this. So what exactly are you showing off?
Ouch.
I guess he's showing off that he wants to improve on it.
Well, you are hearing the voice already. Well, let's just go into the conversation.
Oh,
what are the habits?
Improve it. Okay.
What?
That's why you're here.
Yes.
You will tell him how to do that.
We understand that the skin, your skin, covers an average of 1.5 to 2 square meters. And we also hear that it's the largest organ of the human body. On and on, all those. But the challenge we are looking at today is, what are the habits that you have been executing on a daily basis to affect your skin positively or negatively? Dr. Mobolaji Savage is here. She's an anti-aging and aesthetic doctor. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me over.
Anti-aging?
Yes, anti-aging doctor.
Okay.
So I take years off your age.
But not of the bone.
Well, to be honest, you can only go as far. However, of course, science has actually evolved in recent times. So one is able to go beyond just taking care of the outer appearance. One can actually influence how the human looks, even from within, pretty much. So they call it longevity medicine, which is pretty much a part of my...
My skin.
So what's all this?
I'm just showing.
Well, I've seen better skin than this. So what exactly are you showing off?
Ouch.
I guess he's showing off that he wants to improve on it.
Well, you are hearing the voice already. Well, let's just go into the conversation. What are the habits?
Improve it. Okay.
What?
That's why you're here.
Yes.
You will tell him how to do that.
We understand that the skin, your skin, covers an average of 1.5 to 2 square meters. And we also hear that it's the largest organ of the human body. On and on, all those. But the challenge we are looking at today is, what are the habits that you have been executing on a daily basis to affect your skin positively or negatively? Dr. Mobolaji Savage is here. She's an anti-aging and aesthetic doctor. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me over.
Anti-aging?
Yes, anti-aging doctor.
Okay.
So I take years off your age.
But not of the bone.
Well, to be honest, you can only go as far. However, of course, science has actually evolved in recent times. So one is able to go beyond just taking care of the outer appearance. One can actually influence how the human looks, even from within, pretty much. So they call it longevity medicine, which is pretty much a part of my specialty in anti-aging.
Slow down.
Longevity.
Let's start with the skin.
Yes, please.
Let's start from there. What, in your practice, what have you seen as the most injurious habit that people have towards their skin?
Thank you very much for that question. So I have a practice here in Lagos, Nigeria, in Victoria Island, which is a clinic for anti-aging and aesthetic medicine. And because of the environment that I'm in, one common habit, which one can hardly do anything about, is stress.
Stress is an anti-aging habit.
Is one thing people do that actually counters the benefits of aging more gracefully.
So, but we also hear that
there's some stress you can't avoid.
Good.
Absolutely, yes. There's some stress you can avoid. But however, as we have actually seen with time and time again, we have this movement of people that say, oh, you have to find ways to distress and ways to actually help you, just lay off stress after. It's kind of hard for those who live in this environment, pretty much. So when I think of stress, some people would say to me, some of my clients will say to me, oh, I'm not stressed. And that couldn't be far from the truth, maybe for some of them because of their social economic class. However, stress is not just defined by the physical stress alone. There is the mental stress, there is the emotional stress, which all can exert a lot of damage to the skin and overall health. And so when people think about stress, they think about maybe the average man who is going to jump bus from one end of Lagos to the other extreme end of Lagos. Yes, that's physical stress. There are other aspects of stress that could be undermining our...
What are these other kinds of stress?
Physical stress, emotional stress, like I've just mentioned.
E.g., you lost a boyfriend?
Yes, that could be a thing.
Did you lose a husband?
Yes.
To death?
That could be a thing.
Yeah.
Or a child or something like that.
Okay.
You lose a job. You know, things that usually can exert a lot of stress on an average human mind.
But we hear that some stress is good. Some kinds of stress is good.
Yes, there is some kind of stress that is good, as scientists say. But those kind of stress are the kind of stress that helps to keep your heart pumping. That's like exercise related. That releases those good kind of hormones. That stress and that boost to do something that you know would amount to something positive, not the one that brings to you the negative emotions, the negative vibes, the negative feelings that you do not want to experience at all. So when you experience those bad kind of stress, it is just bad for you altogether. And it means that it impacts solely on how you look and how you feel generally, and even your internal organs as well.
Oh.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. We know that what you eat affects almost every part of your body.
You're calling for it. You're calling for it. Oh, okay, sorry.
Excuse me. So, what kind of diet?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Your diet to give you good skin.
Absolutely. So that's another good question. And
you behave yourself, please.
I think that is a very fair question that you've asked, because not many people would ask that. The average other Nigerian or average other anybody else from any part of the world might be more inclined to ask somebody else that has a good skin to say, oh, what cream are you using? That's like the default question.
Like, because ask that one as well.
Yes, but starting out with diet, it means that one is in tune to know that man is about what they eat. You are what you eat. So ideally, I would say that first off, from eating, eat healthy meals. Healthy meals will be defined by meals that do not have processed sugars in them. Processed sugars might be, for instance, if you had certain skin conditions like acne being the usual popular term being pimples. If you have such kind of skin, you're expected not to eat, say, maybe spicy meals, for instance, because then you could have a trigger. If you have skins like people call eczema, not just the one that Yorubas call lakpa, no, not just type, they're actually variants of eczema. And you'd be expected not to have spicy meals as well, because then it could trigger you. Then you could have processed sugars like bread, large quantities of that, chocolates, carbohydrates, and alcohol.
Did you say chocolates?
Yes, you can't have large quantities of that as well. So you should have a balanced diet with vegetables, with minimal fats and oil, and of course, depending on what your diet goals would be. So I would say that there can't be a perfect diet for everybody, because for different skin types and different goals, you would actually require certain kinds of diet.
So it means, first of all, on that chocolate thing.
Yes, good idea.
On that chocolate thing.
Yeah.
I hear there are different kinds of chocolates, and that the darker, the healthier.
Yes.
Is it true?
This is true. And I think that I know what you mean beyond what you're saying on TV.
Oh, okay.
However, I would say that even with the dark chocolates, which are actually good to release the right kind of feel-good chemicals in your body, you shouldn't have more than, say, like a cube of it. Or even if you go over the top, 2 cubes of it, pretty much. I know it feels kind of stringent, but those are like the
healthy barriers
to have.
I told you someone was calling for it.
Okay. What about creams?
Oh, no, wait. That's the standard. We'll come back to that one. We're not done with the food part.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
But before I ask you the next question about, because people also talk about things that you need to drink and all those things. But just a quick information for the viewer right now. We have a live coverage that's going on at Achievers University's 2024 convocation in Ondo State, and that's for the DSTV platform only. For those of you who are watching us on DSTV only, that is the one that we just wanted you to know right now. And so, in the event that we just move on, if you want to stay with us here on other platforms, on X, YouTube, and the rest of them, please stay with us here. But if you're on DSTV and you want to continue this conversation, please go meet us on our terrestrial platform and other platforms like that. But DSTV audience, we're taking you to that live coverage now. Now, you were talking about food, and you have told us what not to eat. How about the drinks? You spoke about alcohol. I actually wish that this chair would move a little bit closer to your side, so I don't get a backslap. But for you, there's those who say a little bit of alcohol is good for your heart. Red wine, we hear. Is there a variant of red wine, a measure of alcohol? Tell us about it.
I would say usually if you have to stay safe, you might as well do without alcohol.
Altogether?
Yes. Because, there's just that moment where you feel like, just a little more, and before you know, you're going way overboard, pretty much. And if you would agree with me, you would find out that if you had a friend or few friends or a family member whom you've known since their 20s or something, and they've probably had a life where they've not taken alcohol for the longest time, or they've lived a very healthy life without even doing anything at all. They're in their 50s, you know them, and they look so good. There are people from like certain religious sects like that look beautiful, and you're like, what are you doing differently? Like nothing. And you find out that you invite them to parties, all they want is just a glass of water with the nice meal that you have served, pretty much. So on a safe side, I would say that if you want to be like doing all the measuring, don't do without it. But if you want me to indulge you just about a bit, I would say that usually if you had a glass of wine, which is like the full glass, if this is like a full glass of wine, for instance, my pointing finger is like a full glass. Ideally, if you had to have wine, most times they'll say, the doctor says just a glass of wine, and they'll put it just at the top here. So I would say, as a rule of thumb, that should be your glass of wine.
Oh, half the glass.
Not even half, below half, slightly. And that should be...
In that case, just say, don't drink alcohol.
Thank you.
You want pure skin.
Okay.
Don't drink alcohol.
But then you always tell us to take a lot of water.
Absolutely.
How does that help the skin, really?
So water is it's an hydrant for the body. And also it helps to detoxify the body completely, gets rid of the toxins and whatnot within the body. And ideally, people, when they think about water, they say, I drink a lot of water, but we would say usually you should take at least 8 glasses of water. And that's why most people have a problem. They're like, what is 8 glasses of water? I'm like, that's 2 liters of water on an average, on a daily basis, pretty much.
Well, then you'll be going to the bathroom like every hour.
Well, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, to detoxify your body.
Okay.
Okay, does it also detox? She was asking about creams. Does it also detoxify the creams you use?
Okay, so the cream is another ball game altogether. It's another ball game altogether. So water works pretty much, as you rightly stated when we started out today, you had said that the skin is the window to the rest of the body, me paraphrasing what you've said, and that's correct. Meaning that whatever goes on within is what comes out to the surface of the skin. The skin, even though it's the largest organ of the body, it's the telltale sign that you see maybe when you have something wrong with your liver or your kidneys or any other parts of your body. The skin just comes out to show something is happening. It's like if a house was burning and then the access you have is the window. You can see the flames from inside. That's how the skin is. So whatever you're doing on the inside, and water is helping to do those good things on the inside for all the internal organs, for everything to move on nicely. So when water does its job, the skin reflects that. Picture again, you standing by a house that has a window. You can see every good thing going on inside there. You can see, that's a peaceful family. Oh, that's this thing. That's the same thing with the skin. Whatever you're doing right on the inside, the skin just merely reflects it.
So if someone is having whatever on the skin and they decide to apply a cream, what are they doing? I'm using your analogy. The cream, the house is burning, and but we can see that smoke is coming, and then I want to just cover the smoke, or what? What exactly are they doing?
So I would say how you would put it without using such ambiguous words, but I would say, I would call it like an adjuvant therapy. Adjuvant meaning an assisted process of thing, and without being too vague. And I would use real life examples. You would know certain people, maybe they have maybe of a certain socio-economic class, maybe, and they tell you, I don't even rub creams at all. And then you look at their skin, it's flawless, glass-like even. And you start to wonder, what are they doing that I'm not doing? So the cream we use is an added benefit to the already good things we're doing to our bodies, pretty much. So to speak that, if maybe all we did was 90% all the right things internally, some people could almost do without that. Examples being those who live in the villages that have like fresh meals every day. They live very stress-free lives. They don't drink alcohol.
Breathing fresh air.
Fresh air every day.
Yeah.
And they tell you, oh, I really don't do much. All I have to do is I use just shea butter or something basic and things like that. And you find it rather hard to believe because you're like, no, this looks too good to be true. However, like that analogy, all the good things they've been doing makes their skin like glow from the outside. Now, for people in environments like us, like Lagos, where everywhere is like, it's so stress-filled, we might need to now assist the skin to do some part of our jobs that we're not able to do on our own. That's why people need that assisted therapy, so to speak, where they need to apply creams and do all of that.
How important is it to wear sunscreen?
Very important. Extremely important.
But it's unknown to us in this culture.
It's unknown to us because certain sect of individuals believe that because we are skin of color, by skin of color I mean we are melanin-rich skin, we're dark-skinned, and they imagine, oh, my melanin protects me from the sun and everything else, but there could be nothing farther from the truth.
Okay.
You know, we could go on and on with you. There is your next conversation with us, when next you come, because we will bring you in the not too distant future. Skin conditions. Because I could show you my skin now and ask you, don't tell me anything else, don't scare me. And ask you, what is wrong with my skin and what I need to do? And maybe you want to give us some images so that people can actually take immediate action.
Absolutely.
You know, that look, this is what's wrong with your skin.
Yes.
This is likely what you have been doing, the habit you probably have been having, and you need to evolve.
And we will also talk about the effect of bleaching creams on the skin.
I know everybody like is itching to talk about that pretty much.
Ladies don't say they bleach anymore, they say they're toning.
Can I talk about that in 30 seconds?
Okay, so I would talk about that, but then we'll just quickly cover all the other aspects of things that people can do without.
In 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds. Well, you should sleep well, please. I talked about stress.
Okay.
Sleep well. If you can, please stay away from sugar because it causes aging, sporadic aging for your skin.
3.
Exercise, please. Brisk walk in the evenings, and then stay away from creams that you do not know how it was formulated. It hasn't been prescribed to you by your doctor or a certified personnel.
See, I said it. We're going to take you up on those other issues the next time you come. Dr. Bobola Savage.
Thank you.
Anti-aging and aesthetic doctor. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, the home stretch is going to be talking about something. In this hall, there are how many doors?
Something.
2 doors. But we're going to be talking about something that has to do with 7 doors when we return. You will not believe who our Taste of the Week is. However, he is a renowned Nigerian actor, director, and producer. Yes, there are many of them. With a career spanning decades in the Nigerian film industry. Now, you see, it's narrower. He was born in 1954. You see, it's even narrower now. And he has featured in numerous films and TV shows.
Both in Yoruba and in English.
Yeah, I'm not sure of Pidgin yet, but he's been in Ti Oluwanile, a figurine, and there was a sitcom back in time. Yes. You know, do you remember the name Ogabelu? That generation. He's here. Please welcome Prince Jide Kosoko.
Dr. Gyang.
Good afternoon.
What was the name of that series at that time with Awagabelo and the rest of them?
Awada Kerikeri.
Awada Kerikeri. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Even she was shocked.
Join together.
He's an awardist. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
How have you been?
So far, so good. We thank God.
I know that he has been very well because I see him in a lot of movies.
And I also saw him on Isbeyu recently.
Oh, that stupid boy.
Asking the most ridiculous questions. How did it feel?
Being with him?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. In fact, I enjoyed it.
I saw you in Scourge, because I watched Scourge yesterday.
Yes.
Only for me to get into the studio today and see you in 7 Doors.
Yes. 7 Doors.
First of all, we'll talk about 7 Doors in a bit, but tell us, from the days of Awada Keri Keri, and I'm sure you have nostalgic memories of those days, getting into it, and seeing what is happening today. What is your perception? How does it feel knowing that our stories are now being told in amazing ways? Back in time, you only saw films at Jabako Cinema, Casino Cinema, and the rest of them. Now, you actually go to the cinemas to watch Nigerian films. How does it feel?
Well, we thank God for it, but you cannot erase what used to happen then, because it's still the same cinema culture. That was when we actually started it. At a point, we lost it because of this video. Yes, because of what they call it then? When Naira was devalued, and it became so difficult to raise dollars for post-production outside Nigeria. So that was when we resorted to shooting home videos. So it went down. But now I am so happy that it's springing up again.
It's the frequency of them that actually appeals to me. I remember back in time, you'd remember the Shibat Ogunde series. He had a series of films then, and I won't forget a particular soundtrack. Deleo,
that is in Aye.
Sorry?
Aye.
Aye. And then there was Jaye Simi.
That was Jaye Simi.
And then
there was Ayomo.
There was Hanyomo. And then there was Adilov's series as well.
Of course, yes, Taxi Driver.
All in cellular. Yeah. And then Baba Salah came with
Moshe
But there weren't so many in those days. But now it's like almost in fact, Nigerian films are the doyen, if I can say, of movies in almost every part of the world today.
Exactly.
That's what I'm asking you. How does that feel? What good do you think we've been able to milk the benefits of that?
I wouldn't say so, but at least we are getting close. We are getting close to it. It's just unfortunate that streaming companies like Netflix are leaving, but we expect that so many others are equally coming.
Well, what's interesting?
I don't know why they're leaving.
No, they're not.
Not leaving. Not leaving actually, but I think they
just
don't want to do Netflix original again. So if you have your movie and it's good enough, they will still take it.
But they won't give you money to go and do films anymore.
That is what they are avoiding now. And they must have their reasons for doing that anyway. But I can tell you that things are changing for good. It's good that most of the guys we trained are doing far better than us now. In fact, we are even trying to run and meet up with the standard of things they are doing. Look at the likes of Funke, Akedele, Kunle Afolayan, and look at Femi Adebayo with these 7 Doors. I mean, they are changing the narrative.
I'm coming back to that 7 Doors because it started it. My over, as we say in local parlance, my over is gasted and my flabber is whelmed. But we'll come back to that. Talk to us about the entry level into the movies today. Back in time, the bars were very low. I'm not sure if the bar has been raised now on how those who get into
the industry,
into your industry.
Yes, it's what if an industry is good enough yes, you see people coming in, and a lot of investors are equally coming in too. And so we are getting there. That's what I said. We are getting there. Things are changing for good. In those days, when we started, you will not see anybody trying to associate with us. No, they won't. They don't even see us as anything. Even the academicians, those who are the thespians in the universities, they don't want to liaise with us. They say, what are they? What we do? We are doing nonsense. But today, we are joined together. Both the down and the town.
What thrills me the most is that there's plenty of talk about collaborations with Hollywood. And how come we have not heard your name in that area yet? Because you are one of the oldest in this industry.
Thank you. We are still on it. But don't forget that our children, those ones we trained, are already doing it.
They are.
Ordinarily, if I've worked with the ministry, by now I should have been retired.
True.
So what we are doing is giving enough backups, but I'm not retired. I'm not tired yet, and we still continue to fight.
But if it's any encouragement, I know a lot of Americans, this is what I know for a fact, who just sit down and watch Nigerian movies from morning till night, from night till morning.
Because our stories are original. And we tell the stories in our own way. So like we used to discuss among ourselves, we only need to sell ourselves. We cannot compete with them with the kind of productions they do.
Yeah.
So we have to tell our own story in our own way. And now that we are even going deeper into historical things, into epics.
It's that epic angle that caught me about Seven Doors, and the fact that it married the modern and ancient times. It was kind of set in the 70s, right?
Yes.
Because I saw the opening session of
it's old school 70s.
Yes, old school 70s, and then the fellow, the conversation transits into the village.
Have you watched?
I've seen episodes 1 to 3.
You have seen
up until past midnight. And I was telling myself I'll watch, and then when I knew that somebody is, I gotta see this now, and I couldn't stop. In fact, we were about having conversations this morning. I was still watching, and it's difficult to put down. And that's
honestly, the truth is that Seven Door is changing the narrative in Nollywood. It's not just it's not a Yoruba-based story per se. Yes, it's a Yoruba-based story, but it accommodates other languages, and you can see the intrigues, all the intrigues. When you heard about Seven Doors, what were you thinking?
Doors.
7 doors. Just doors. You want to buy 7 doors, or you want to get into a place that you need to open 7 doors? I will not give her anything, because you may not even want that. To know what the 7 doors are.
I will watch it. Don't worry.
You need to watch it.
You have to.
Earlier you said we are the ones to tell our own stories.
Yes.
How well do you think we're doing that now that we have decided to do that?
It's a gradual thing. You see, I continue to tell people that even up till now, even though we started, say, 75, 76 years, 70 in 1970 something to date, we are still new in the industry as far as I'm concerned, compared to when India or America started. So we are
a 1926 movie of India. 1926 movie. I think it was our best.
You know what that means? And we are doing it's something we do on our own, privately.
Yes.
No government
involvement. Plus infrastructure. Never.
Nothing. So we thank God that gradually governments, they are beginning to understand what we are talking about.
The National Theatre is on stream now. What's your take on that? How effective? Because I remember growing up in the 80s.
That was our main base.
Yes. You had to just go under that tree
He just had to go on that tree. Something just had to happen, and that's where artists, actors were recruited for stage plays, which are more prominent in those days and stuff like that. Even for commercials, TV commercials and all. But that was the infrastructure of the day, right? How efficient do you see that playing now? How efficient?
You mean National Theatre, the edifice itself?
Yeah.
Well, it's undergoing some sorts of new construction. Should I say construction?
You don't look too impressed by that.
Because I still don't get it. For how many years will they renovate the National Theatre? And it used to be the #1 edifice.
Yeah.
The cultural center that we all know.
Yeah.
But look at what is happening now. I'm even happy that private organizations are putting up structures, for cinemas. And it's good enough.
Okay.
Now, but I just pray that there is a way even local government can assist us. Let them just put small community cinemas that can take 100, 200 people. We have a lot to offer.
Leading me to this question of Nollywood. There are those who say that, the integration of the northern theater practitioners to the Nigerian, so to speak, industry is slow or almost not happening as significantly as it should. What's your take on that?
Especially when you talk of this carnival thing, I don't subscribe to it. It's not necessary. How many wood do they have in India or America? There is no need for that. We have, let me say this. Some people will tell you the history of Nollywood. They will say it started in 1970. Is that correct? No, they will say it started in 1992. When we have films since 1970s, commercial films. Adaniugu was the first commercially successful movie in this country.
Yes.
That was in 1976.
Now,
because a production now came, even in video, in 1992, we now say that is where we started from. That is not the issue. But the argument is we have all agreed to that name, Nollywood. We should all stick to it.
Okay. So you think that should also be included in Nollywood and no separation?
There should be no separation. But I don't know why these guys decided to do that. Anyway, and they get a lot of sponsors from their people, unlike even the Nollywood itself.
Of course.
But the truth is, we don't need to separate. They have Kannywood, we have Nollywood, and we will now say, okay, Yoruba wood or what?
Yoruba wood.
Okay. It would seem like, okay, you wanted to ask?
Yes. The stage is part of all this, and it also seems to be coming back. What do you think is responsible for that?
Things are changing. The entertainment industry is taking over the economy of this country. And it's taking it over for good. And that is why you see that every aspect of the entertainment industry is coming up again. Yes, I was on stage yesterday. I was on stage yesterday with the investors, and the crowd, the audience, was good enough.
People are going out again.
People are really going out for it. And I'm happy about it.
Absolutely.
So that is it. It is not compulsory that when you are an actor on stage, you should be an actor in the film. But you can do everything together at the same time.
It would seem, friends, that Seven Doors is a melting pot for cultures.
That's right. That's right.
It's a melting pot of different cultures.
That's good.
How does that play for you?
Yes, I got to understand that Femi has been on this story. Femi Adebayo has been on this, on writing this script for a long time. This is about the night edition of that script that he was able to put in place. And if you watch that movie carefully, He's telling a story. He's telling that story to ensure that there is unity. He's preaching unity, apart from the various story, like the intrigues, the story itself.
The various doors.
The various doors. Yes, you see, it's a marriage of love and tradition. Yeah. What is the position of love when we are talking of tradition? That is 7 doors for you. But those 7 doors, that man need to cross the 7 doors to be able to achieve and unite his people.
Meanwhile, the number one door has started.
The number one door is not happy with other doors.
Please,
this is all very cryptic. Very cryptic.
Okay. But there's something I've also seen of Nigerian films. Man. Oh God, you just have to say, I can't wait to finish it. I can't wait. But there's something that I've also seen. I am a critical critic of Nigerian films. I was looking for errors. In fact, the point where there was some kind of problem, we've shown it on air now, where trees, where wood logs were falling.
That was very perfect. I was looking at it myself. In fact, I stayed glued to my chair to see if I can actually see a fault, a mistake. And it went so beautiful.
This point.
Look at it. It went so beautiful. Can you see that?
Ouch.
So real, like it's where everyone needs to watch 7 Doors.
7 Doors.
But
it's on Netflix.
Photo trick.
No. It's not photo trick. It's real. Allo Juju say.
Yes. Now let's go personal, Prince. There is a look you always bring on screen.
Look?
Yes. You are bringing the face. Oh, by the way, this film came out how long ago?
I think today is Saturday. Yesterday.
Whoa.
Just yesterday on Netflix.
Yesterday?
Yes.
Yes, because he wasn't there 3 nights ago.
Yeah.
I told you I woke up in the night to watch the movie.
The cast, Prince. All A-list.
You can only ask who is not part of it.
I'm telling you.
I'm not part of it.
We will invite you.
I saw the Ogogo character playing something that many people didn't know he had. He had this chanting voice. But when he was in his prime, people only casted him as some rich guy. Almost all the time. But he had this hunter chant voice that
you have not seen anything yet.
Okay, no, anyway. So
we have talents here.
There is this.
A lot of them, you see, they just need someone to take them through the rudiments so that lots of talents we have. So you are yet to see wonders.
Why did you create this look?
Which look?
For this one. This one. You know, when he was saying the construction.
What are they constructing?
You exemplify your roles with such signature look. How important? Are you even aware that you had the signature look?
Well, I am human. And whatever happens, no matter the role you are taking, an element of yourself will reflect somehow, whether you like it or not. There's no way you can do that.
Is that why you?
So if you say I'm using my, I don't know, but that's my selling point.
Is that why they cast you in comedy roles sometimes?
I don't know for them.
So what would you say to people like Femi Adebayo, and what's his name now, Kunle Afolayan, and the rest? Because Femi Adebayo is a son of a veteran, the same way Kunle Afolayan is a son of a veteran who, of course, is late. So what would you be saying to them?
I'm only thanking them, because they keep the legacy there.
Yes.
That is just it.
It must take a lot of courage to do that.
To do what?
To do what they do.
What
because I don't think it is cheap.
If you see the risk they are taking, imagine Tony. Yeah, that's just it. They are doing fantastically well, and we appreciate them. And that is why whenever they call us, we are always there for them. Yes, that's the only thing we can do to support them.
Prince Jide Kosoko. We call him Prince because he's from a royal family. That's the Kosoko family, I believe.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Which adds a regal dimension to his persona. I wonder how that was accepted in the palace when he started acting.
How would they accept it? Well, I have said that here before. I started precisely when I was 10 years old. I was a rascal myself. No parent even want their children to associate with me. Yeah. And a lot of beatings. My father will say, "You are a royal prince. You should not be entertaining people.
I wonder.
They should entertain you." My mother on her own is so aggressive, beating every time. But I thank God, even though they were separated at a point, it was my very good self that united them with the same theater.
You see? Thank you very much, Prince.
I say there's an advantage to being rascally sometimes. Don't even answer that question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Prince Jide Kosoko.
And the Prince closes Sunrise for this day. Oh, by the way, Merry Christmas to you.
Same, madam.
And we shall be bringing you our DSS next Saturday. That's our Christmas edition, otherwise known as December Saturday Sunrise.
Sunrise special. You don't even know your own name. Before they put department in your DSS, I don't dare there.
No, it's December Sunrise special. And we have told you all those, at least some of those we expect next week to give us a good time for our Christmas program. So I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm Alero Idu, wishing you all the best. Until next week.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
And go watch 7 Doors.
Thank you.
Bye.